Okay, so I'm gonna just hang out a little bit and whew, use my fan for a little. Hey, thank you. Hi, Kate. Whew. I'm gonna give it 30 seconds more because I'm not doing what I was doing before. When I did the 45 days, I just kind of jumped on and got started right away. I'm doing a little bit different. I'm gonna wait a little bit just so, well, I'm gonna wait 30 seconds more. It takes about a minute or so to get things started because you have to click this and click that and get the streams going. But hello everyone, I'm Shirley Osborne and I am the founder of the Women's Leadership Circle, and I'm a woman. I'm a woman, and I am a woman living in a man's world, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Because, well, partly because it just came to me. I was walking one morning. Let me just fix this. I was walking one morning, and the thought occurred to me. Some big trucks went by me, and they were all being driven by men, and they were being driven by men and driven the way that we are told men are supposed to be. Fatima, hey, thank you. And so I've been thinking a lot about the work that I do in the world and how I am in the world. And some of you will know that I have been moving around a little bit in the sense that I live in two places. So I live in the Caribbean, I live in Montserrat. I was born in this little island and I love this little island. I love being here. I also very much love being in cities, and you know how it is. In a tiny island with a small population, you're limited in all kinds of ways, the things you can do, the people you can meet, the progress you can make in any sector. And so when I was very young, my parents sent me away to school. They sent me to England, which was sort of natural, normal, because our island is still part of the British realms. We're not going to talk about that today because we're not doing politics today. But I have been away, and one of the reasons I've been away from Montserrat, I was in Phoenix, which is where I also live, and I spent the whole year there, just sort of getting grounded, getting resettled, because among other things, my mom died last year, and unsettled me, to put it mildly. Unsettled me. I still am a little bit wobbly, but all of those things had me thinking about how women are in the world, where we fit, how difficult things still are. Of course, being in the United States, dealing with the Trumpisms and the whole abortion debate, and women being pushed back and losing ground. Of course, we haven't got through yet, but we're hopefully in the end of COVID, but we spent this last 2.5 years, women being again pushed back, pushed out. Although everybody generally agrees that the women leaders were the ones who handled this better all around, and still are. And so this last year has been very much, I've been very much focused on who I am as a woman. I think partly because I lost my mom, and there's a kind of reshuffling, reorganizing that has to happen. And I didn't know that, but I found out there's a reorganizing that happens in your brain when you no longer have a mother you can talk to every day. You can go to for solace and soup, and comfort food. She's not there, You kind of have to revisit who you are. And I thought I had done that because when my father died some years ago, one of the things that occurred to me, who am I now? I have my father's name. I'm Shirley Osborne. I have my father's name. I no longer have my father. Am I still Shirley Osborne? And what does that mean now? I'm not my father's daughter as I used to be. And so all of those things this year, being back in Phoenix also, and getting back into some of the work I used to do in Phoenix, with women who have difficulties, women who have not such privileged and easy lives as we wish they'd have, women whose lives are not at all easy, young girls who are still having a rough time. And that was the impetus for my starting the Women's Leadership Circle, pulling all of my work together under one umbrella. However, because of the way women are in the world, because of the things that still affect women and how we are still required to behave, despite the evidence that we are capable and competent, and even despite of the little openings that we see, for example, with Vice President Harris, with right now, yesterday, Italy for the first time got a woman prime minister, and England got a new prime minister 3 weeks ago or so, and a woman. And so, despite these little pieces of evidence that show that women are moving ahead, it is so slow. And even though the women are moving ahead, the other things don't seem to have changed. So all of this stuff has been going on in my brain. And I did the Women's Leadership Circle, and then I did the 45 days live just to kind of help me rebalance and center. And so walking the other morning and thinking about these things, I'm a woman, very much so, proudly so, excitedly so. If I were to come back another life, any other life, I'd want to come back as a woman. Although I was saying to my friend the other day that there was a time when I wanted to be a boy. I remember being asked in school, we got a comprehension, a writing assignment, and I wrote that I wanted to be a boy. I'd have preferred to have been a boy. I was in primary school, which means I was less than 10 years old. I was 7, 8, 9, something like that. And I wrote that I wanted to be a boy because boys had so much more fun. My brother was allowed to range and roam and do whatever he wanted to do, pretty much. He was required to do some of the same things at home that we were, but he was way more free in his being able to move around than we were. I saw, boys playing cricket, boys, and my mother sent me to Girl Scouts, and Girl Scouts used to meet the same days that Boy Scouts did, but we call it Girl Guides in Montserrat. And the boys were going on nature walks, and they go to camp and all kinds of things. And we were doing embroidery and doing hardanger and hem stitch. I haven't learned up to now, and we were cooking. And one of the good things, I hate to say it, but probably the only really, really exciting thing that came out of me being a Girl Guide was I promise you, the best pineapple upside down cake you will ever taste. Okay. So looking through all of these things and trying to, again, just kind of trying to rebalance and find my footing and getting back fully into work and getting past, or getting through, I suppose, or getting into who this woman is now that I am without a mother. It still feels funny to say that. I've had to look at all of these things and looking at the way men behave, looking at the way young girls behave, and we are still being taught we should behave. And I think it's a privilege. It's also one of my difficulties. I live in these two worlds, like all women. But as I was thinking about this, I'm a woman. I'm a woman living in a world created by men. And if you remember that old James Brown song, I was a child when that came out. It's a man's world. He ends up by saying it, nothing without a woman in it. But by then he had already made the point. And as I was thinking about these two, it also occurred to me that there are other worlds that I live in, and I fully inhabit them. Women fully inhabit the worlds in which we live. And so the other two came to mind. I live on this tiny island. Yes, I live on this tiny island, and I also live in this sprawling city, Fatima, you know what I'm talking about, of 5 million people. This tiny island has fewer than 5,000 people, a population of fewer than 5,000 people. And I live here, fully engaged in everything that goes on here. And I also live in Phoenix, 5 million people across miles. I mean, when I was working all the time, when I was working outside the home in Phoenix, I would drive from Glendale to Mesa, from Glendale to Apache Junction, from all over the place, 30, 40, 50 miles to go to work. And I am fully immersed in Phoenix, the politics, the social activities. I know what's going on in education, what's going on with business, what's going on in government. And still, so that's 4 worlds. That's 4 worlds. And they're kind of special because I'm still in all of this. I'm a woman living in these worlds. It's different to a man living in these worlds. And as I thought about it some more, it also occurred to me that I am also a Black woman living in a Eurocentric world. And it's Eurocentric both there in Phoenix and in London and in New York and wherever I go. Even when I go to China, it's a Eurocentric world. That's interesting. And it's a Eurocentric world even here in the Caribbean where I live. I was in Zambia in 2019 and staying in this beautiful hotel on what used to be called Victoria Falls. Now they call it Mosi Otunya, which is the local name, the original name. But the hotel was a very European hotel, everything, including the food. So I was living in a Eurocentric world, even in Africa. So I did the count. That's 6 different worlds. 6. I live in at least 6 different worlds. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. I'm doing this live today and tomorrow and on Thursday. Today, I'm talking about me being a woman, living as a woman and then living as a woman in this man's world. And it seems so obvious to me. Every woman knows what it's like. Every woman knows how, in one sense, women are, what's the word? Celebrated is not the right word. We think we are valued. I remember a Jewish friend of mine once explained to me that in the Jewish home, the mother is in charge. The woman is in charge. She makes the decisions. Outside, she can't be seen to be making these decisions. And isn't that the case pretty much everywhere? When I was going to China the very first time to work, I remember somebody saying to me that in China, the Chinese people think that there are 3 groups of people in the world: men, women, and American women. American women, because American women are different to other women. American women are thought to be outgoing and autonomous and independent, and we speak we speak our minds. And American women are aggressive and all those things. And then I thought, but I live in America. And there are lots of women who are like that in lots of ways. But the society, even America, does not just accept that women are to be like this. Because if it did, and if you think about it now, if it did, we would not be having the struggles we're having now with things like abortion. And not just abortion, but women just having control of our bodies and deciding what we want to do with our bodies and where and when and how. Right now, there is all this activity going on in Iran because they killed a young girl the other day for not wearing hijab, for not covering herself. Last night, and I want to say her name. Let me go back here and make sure I'm saying it properly, because we need to call the names of our women. Women, Masa Amini, her name is. We need to name them. When these things happen to women, we need to name them, because all of this happens because women are living in a man's world. And so even though in the United States or in England or in Montserrat, not required, nobody is really required to wear hijab or cover yourself or hide yourself. The laws allow women to be and do and go to school and all those things and speak up. But the laws of the land allow that. The laws of society in many ways don't. Even the independent, forceful, aggressive American women are still having to fight these battles today. That's a hard one for me. That's a really tough one for me. It just does not make any sense. I can't comprehend it. And so when I say I'm deeply immersed in the politics in Phoenix, I still am, because yes, I sign the petitions and I go to the meetings because for me, what happens to one woman affects all of us, happens to all of us, because if it happens to one, trust me, it can happen to the other. So if we talk, let's think about contraceptive care. Women around the world depend on contraceptive care in order to be able to manage our lives, to have children, not have children, to have 2 rather than 10, to protect our bodies, to keep ourselves healthy and well and strong. Around the world, there are many countries where it's, let me put it this way, they'd rather not have it. I know from living outside of the United States, and we'll talk about me being a Black woman, and also coming from a third world country, quote unquote, on Thursday. I know that one of the reasons why so many women around the world actually have access to contraceptive care is because women in the United States agitated for it, got it. And you guys can go Google the whole story of Planned Parenthood, but you also know you would also find the 2 stories about Planned Parenthood. There's one narrative that says it's good for women so we can manage and plan our lives, and the other one says it's all a conspiracy designed to prevent people from having too many children because there's this elite group of people who don't want the others. There's all kinds of things, and this happens with every issue. So I'm not even going to argue that. The problem is, though, that what will happen now when, when those conversations switch in America, because America is so much involved, because America is so much involved in how the rest of the world works, those are going to come down. And women who are beginning to find some autonomy, I'm not sure what happened just now. I'm so sorry. Women who are beginning to find some autonomy and some control of their lives are going to fall back again. And they won't have the vehicles that the American women have for fighting back. And so I fight in the United States with American women, because that also allows me to fight in Montserrat, in the Caribbean, for Caribbean women. Yeah. So I'm living the same life. Seems like 2 worlds, Montserrat and America. They're so very different. 5,000 people, Kate, you know, there's fewer than 5,000 people in Montserrat and 5 million in Phoenix. Plus, you can fit the whole of Montserrat in the valley, in the Phoenix area, 25 times. I don't know. Okay. The problems are the same. The issues we're dealing with are the same. So I think as we think about it, we recognize, well, are we really living in different worlds? Living in Montserrat, how different is that? How different a world is that from living in Phoenix as a woman? As a man, we know it's a very different thing. Men's world is really, really different, totally different. But a woman thinks she's living in 2 different worlds. 5,000 people, 5 million people. And then you should think more deeply about it. It's not, it's the same world. It's not different. Thank you. It's not a different world at all. It's the same world everywhere for women. And that is a problem for me. That's a problem for me. We have a man on here, I think. Welcome. It's a problem for me. Because women are not living, we're not being allowed to live our fullest lives, our best lives. And when I say that, I kind of sound like Oprah, living our best lives. And it's a good thing. But what I'm more interested in is the contribution that women are able to make to the world. The world is not going well. That's clear. We're not doing well. You've got wars everywhere. Prime Minister Motley from Barbados a few days ago spoke about that. We're talking about war. There's war, not just in Ukraine. There's war. There are wars all over the world. There are wars going on, what amounts to wars going on in the United States among people. And if you think that January 6th the January 6th event is not a kind of a war, then you're not paying attention. All these things are going on, and women are not being allowed to make the contributions that we can. That is my issue with all of this. Because I know that when women are allowed to contribute, we bring a whole different vibe. We bring different gifts, qualities, skills, thought processes, different ambitions, different desires, and different ways of doing things. And we will get different results. We get different results. A few years ago, I was in Jordan for a conference on political violence against women. Political violence, because women who are involved in politics. And I listened to women from the Middle East and North Africa talk about peacekeeping and women not being allowed to participate in peacekeeping. I looked at photographs of the first weeks of the war between Ukraine and Russia, or Russia and the rest of the world, depending on how you look at it. And what I saw were tables, long tables, with men. Not one woman anywhere, as if women didn't matter, not being, it wasn't affecting women. Women didn't need to have a say. That's the world we live in. And that's the world that, if they would let women participate. And I say if they would let women participate. And when I say it, I say it with hesitancy, because the other thing is, well, we don't need to wait. But yeah, because we don't need to wait, but we're also not being allowed. Women have been agitating forever at all levels. Women in ancient Greece were agitating to be allowed to be gynecologists, to be midwives. And still are having to fight these things. There are countries in the world where women are not allowed to, or not seen, not considered really to be, it's not thought to be a good thing for women to be doctors. So there are places in the world where there are very few women doctors. Think about that. And this is 2022. So we live in this world, and we are living in these little pockets that affect us in deep, 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 life-changing ways, each little pocket, that give us the sense that these things, we are living in separate worlds, but we are not. And what I want women to understand is what I said earlier. We feel like we're living in these worlds. I think I'm living in like 6 different worlds. By the time I'm finished on Thursday, I would have talked about me living in 6 different worlds, when really it is just one world, a world created by and for men, and that women are still struggling to find a place in. And that we have to use every skill, every talent, every ability, every opportunity to change that. And change that not just for women. And I say this, I make a point of saying this all the time. We talk about men as allies, as if men are working on something that it's not quite their problem, but it really is. It's the same as if you have, you talk in families about the father helping to take care of the children. No, it's their responsibility also. And it's part of their lives also. And when the children are taken care of, well, it serves the father just as well. The same thing when women are doing well, it serves the men. I want what I always advise and stress and encourage women to do is to get men to understand this. Dude, you will be so much better off, feel so much better, have such a rich life if you allow, encourage, support the women in your life in being all of themselves, being the best, the most, and making the contribution. And if you want to make as basic as possible, the most basic you can get is if you talk about money. So imagine, think about being in a relationship with a woman who is looking after her life, um, has a profession, has work, has activities in her own life that enrich her life. That is so much more. It makes your life so much more rich, so much more rich. It lifts you so much. It makes you so much more than you would have been had you had this woman that you keep locked away who can't wear what she likes because, but a woman you can have a good conversation with, that when you're with your friends is more than just waitress and backdrop, but who can carry on a conversation with you and your friends. A woman who can play ball with you or as good as you. Think about how much more exciting that would be. Because I think one of the things that holds men back is precisely this. Because men and women, we have been taught that men are supposed to be in charge, make the decisions all the time and be the powerhouse. And it stresses men out. Doctors will tell you that. Doctors will tell you that. Having to be always in charge, on top, making the decisions, looking out, looking after, earning. That's one of the reasons why men are so stressed. If you share, it makes life better for everyone. It sounds simplistic, but that's how it is. And so this one world that we live in, that we think is so many separate worlds, will work better for us all. Will work better for us all. We'll all do better. The world will be safer, more secure for everybody, including men. So even if you were to think of the world of women and the world of men, they're not two separate worlds. They really are just one in which we can all live well. So whether I'm a woman in Phoenix or in Shanghai or in braids or in Tehran, I can live well. I can feel safe and secure. And what happens when women feel safe and secure? The entire family feels safer and secure and more secure, including the men in the family. Yesterday, a couple of days ago, I saw I read another news article about women in Afghanistan. Taliban is back, as we're aware. And although they had originally said that they're going to be, allowing women their rights and education and so on, they've also now required that women on TV reading news also cover. The only thing you can see with the news readers, with the women on TV, is their eyes. My philosophy about life is, with regard to religions and philosophies and beliefs and so on, is whatever gets you through. Believe whatever you want that gets you through this life. It's hard enough as it is. Use whatever helps ease it for you, as long as you don't harm anyone else. And so I have nothing to say about people's religion, whatever it might be. What I do know is that preventing the community, the society, from being able to participate in, benefit from the gifts, the talents, the skills of women cannot be a good thing, is not a good thing. It's depriving the entire world, depriving us all of advancement and progress and fulfillment and a good life. And I hear it so much. There's a woman, this one last point, because we are about out of time. I can't remember the name of the sociologist. She wrote a book called Scheherazade Goes West, and I'll look for it because I have it on my thing somewhere. Scheherazade Goes West, and she wrote about the conversations about burqa and being covered, hijab and being covered, and about women in the West being naked and wearing bikinis and miniskirts and so on. Her point was that what's driving those two is exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Men's ideas of what women are supposed to be and do. Iranian women are cutting off their hair because they're being told that their hair excites men so much that men can lose control. And so they must cover to protect the men from themselves. In other parts of the world, women can go wear as little as they, although the other day I saw a woman being arrested on a beach. I wonder if it was in North Carolina, I can't remember, because she was wearing a thong on a beach in the United States. Because some men have decided that, But on the other hand, you see cars being sold, and you wonder, are they selling the car, they're selling the woman? Why do you need a woman to sell a car? You're selling a car to men, why do you need a woman on it? And so the point of this book, Scheherazade Goes West, is that women, whether you're naked or you're covered from head to toe, it's being forced on you, it's being pushed on you because this is what men want women to be. And the question gets to be for us, ladies and men, what do we want? Is this what we want? Do we want a world in which women can make our own decisions, or in which all across the board decisions are being made for women? And what will it take to get that? My thought about that is it takes conversation, it takes interaction. It's not an overnight thing, obviously, but it's something we can't stop doing. So I'm doing these things because every time I get discouraged and I feel like I'm thinking, oh my God, what's wrong with these people in Montserrat or in the US or wherever, I tell myself, well, you have work to do. Keep doing your work. My work in this world, I have both discovered and accepted found out and agreed to, is that I work for the advancement of this little group of people in Montserrat, and I work for the equality of women, the equal treatment of women. I work for the autonomy of the people of Montserrat and of women. My request is that in the interest of a safe, secure world, in the interest of good lives, the simplest way I can put it, good lives for all of us, we get to continue to support the equality, the advancement, the uplift of women. We are not anywhere close. There's a Women's March coming up October 8th, I think. Women's marches, they're still looking for people to host marches. Go host one or go join one. I know that people speak about feminism as being this bad thing. Let's not talk about feminism or anything else. Let's just talk about human beings, whether male or female, trans, whatever, human beings having the option to contribute what they came to this world with. And if everybody's contributing what they came to this world with, guess what happens? Everybody else benefits. So the question is, how much benefit do we want? Do we want to just go through this life, or we want to have the best life, benefiting from all the good things that the other people bring? I want to benefit from all the good things that all the other people bring. And I know the good things that women bring. So I'm proud and happy to be a woman, and I want to be a woman in every life I get. I also want to be a woman who lives in a world that is both women's and men's, or a world that is just a world. Not a man's world, but a world that's just a world that works for all of us. It works for all of us. So thank you very, very much for listening to me this afternoon. My two worlds for today were, I'm a woman, live in a woman's world. I live in a world created by men and for men. Is it two separate worlds, or is it still just one? Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about living in a little island and living in a big city. I'm going to talk to you about the work I do in the little island and the work I do in the big city, on the continent even. So literally, forget, let's not even talk about Phoenix. 300 and how many million people compared to fewer than 5,000. And then on Thursday, we'll talk about being a Black woman living in a Eurocentric world. Send me your notes, your thoughts, your comments. You have questions, or there's something you particularly want me to look at, let me know. And in the meantime, check out the website, shirleyosborne.com, and let's continue to talk. Thank you so very much. I'll see you tomorrow afternoon again. Take good care.